What's up, Fire Nation? If you don't play small and you're here to build, you're in the right place. I'm Miss Blue Fire, always taking you higher. Let's light it up. What's up, Fire Nation? If you don't play small and you're here to build, you're in the right place. I'm Miss Blue Fire, always taking you higher. Let's light it up. What's up, Fire Nation? If you don't play small and you're here to build, you're in the right place. I'm Miss Blue Fire, always taking you higher. Let's light it up. What's up, Fire Nation? If you don't play small and you're here to build, you're in the right place. I'm Miss Blue Fire, always taking you higher. Let's light it up. Everybody, hey everybody, I hope you can hear me. I hope you can hear me right now. I see someone's watching. Big up Miss T every time. Big up Imatep, my brother. I'm my brother that. That's right. And big up TG Media, who's always changes his name. Now he's one click BF5, B5F. Big up Philip. Big up. Yeah, so whoever is in the chat, please let me know if you can hear me. I need to know that you can hear me so I can continue. Today, as mermaids love. Oh, you can hear me. I see you, Philip. I see you, buddy. That's to myself. If he's here, I'll know I'll know he's here. Big up your damn self. Yeah. So, excuse my language. Tonight we're gonna go deep. We're gonna go deep tonight because we have a lot to cover. And listen, people, I made sure that's why I started with the foundation, right? Go back to live one and go through the foundation, especially diaspora, or however you want to pronounce it, doesn't matter, right? Go back there and you will see why building blocks are necessary. Yeah, Imhotep came, but he checked out. He'll probably forward back soon. But him just making him presence be known, which is great. Right? Yeah. So tonight we're gonna go deep and we have a lot to cover, a whole lot to cover. So without further ado, everybody else who's on the playback will have to play back later. And we have some new subscribers. You know what? Listen, I should have celebrated 10,000 subscribers. I should have, but it happened so fast. And I really, to be honest, I wasn't paying attention as much as I should. Right? It was after it passed 10,000. I said, oh, it passed 10,000. I should do a post. But then I said, but it gone past 10,000 now. It's 10,200. So what's the point, right? But I probably should have celebrated it. And now we're at 10,700 and mash. So people are liking the content. And that's what I strive to do. Well, not strive. That's what I intend to give content that's actually going to help. You know, the spaces can be very negative. The spaces can be brain rot. But here, I want you to be entertained and educated at the same time. Thanks, one click. B5F. Thanks, Philip. Yeah. But you know, subscriptions, they're good. It means that people are watching, right? But that's just one metric. So never ever fall for that, right? Where people think that subscriptions is everything. It's not. How long people watch your videos and, you know, how the impact that you make. That is what matters. Hi, Rikitan. Hi, Rikitan. Blessings, Rikitan. Blessings there. Good to see you. Long time. Long time. So we're going to go into it today and we have a lot to cover. So last week, you know, we covered, one second. Move, baby. Okay, here it is. Last week we covered what is dancehall, meanings of the diaspora, foundation blocks. I want you to go back and look at that if you have any questions. We covered label hype. We covered prison hype. We covered cartel spiritual alchemy. We covered the spiritual laws of Freemasons that we can recognize clearly. We covered the difference between what is impact and what is influence, which is a foundational building block, because we're going to go into that today. We're going to go deep into that today. And then I gave you some words of love. Now, this week, what we're going to be doing is we're going to recap what is impact versus what is influence. But this time, we're going to make it a little bit shorter because the first live is there. You can refer to it, right? And then we're going to talk about reach versus impact, because I've been hearing some people in the space saying that reach equate to impact, and it does not. Then we're going to have to give Mr. Sean Paul his flowers. We're going to give him his impact and his influence, because you cannot go around his body of work. Remember, here, we're truth dealers here. There's no feelings here. I took this from a perspective of someone who knows business and someone who knows dancehall, right? And someone who knows music. Okay, right? From no music, from what's in my blood, from growing up and actually being in fine arts at one of the best universities. Okay, and continuing. So there are certain things we're going to talk about. His impact and his influence. We're going to talk about Cartel's impact and his influence. And I think I'm going to change some minds here. I think I'm going to change some minds because, you know, Miss Bluefire always says perspective, perspective, perspective. It's important. But facts are also important too. Then we're going to talk about Sean Paul's impact versus Cartel's impact. And we're going to talk about Sean Paul's influence versus Cartel's influence. And is Sean Paul more successful than Vibes Cartel? I have some questions for you too, audience. You know, this is interactive. Even though you can't see me, that's okay. You're not going to see me all the time. And then we're going to talk about pen versus performance. So just to recap, let's recap again. Fire equals to the influence. The burn mark was the impact. Again, for the new people, the fire was the influence. Remember, I told you it influenced my skin with heat. The burn mark, what was left behind, that is even the little bit that is still left today, is the impact of that fire. That is why, and I want you to hear me clearly, because listen, I don't talk to Fire Nation like they're stupid. I don't talk to Fire Nation like you don't have any sense, because I expect you to understand and to dig deep when you're talking to me. Okay? I'm not going to treat you well. Fire Nation people are not light or slight. So that is why sometimes listen to me closely and keenly and apply it for yourself. Don't take it as gospel. That's why a lot of times influence can lead to impact. Okay? Lots of times influence leads to impact. Influence, the fire, the burn, led to the impact. Now, if the influence was light and it was not deep and the fire wasn't that hot, it probably wouldn't leave a mark. It wouldn't leave that impact, right? Unless it's like an emotional impact, like, you know, right? But if it leaves a mark, if the fire was significant enough, the fire will leave an impact. Don't forget this when you're reasoning, ladies and gentlemen. And don't forget this most importantly, when you're thinking and you're trying to bring things out for yourself. Big up my brother, Imhotep 360 degrees. Big up. Listen, and I have to give this man his flowers, right? I know you haven't seen me on his platform in a while, and I'm going to fix that. And I'm not going to say it anymore. But Imhotep is a true champion. And he's a champion as a friend as well. Imhotep and I fight, nobody knows. Imhotep and I disagree. I mean, polar opposites, but the respect is still there, right? Never once, never once would I disrespect this man because I can see the qualities, right? We don't have to agree, but we might disagree and fight amongst ourselves, but always is respect, because that's the bottom line. So apart from this YouTube thing that could burn down tomorrow, right? That's my friend. And that's my brother. As we say, as Cartel said, I'm a brother that. You probably don't want to hear that, but it don't matter. So I just big him up and give him, yeah, and give him his flowers. And that's the thing, Philip. I don't keep friends that can't negotiate. Throughout these 4 years, Imhotep has been a really great negotiator, to be honest. Right? Negotiates. So you have to have friends that you can negotiate. Even when you start mad at them, you can throw things back at them and know that, okay, you know, I have to be able to know I can trust the person's mind, right? Regardless of, everybody have bad ways, everybody have good ways. I'm pretty sure I have bad ways too. Nobody's perfect, but everybody values different things. But this is what I value. I value freedom. I value my friends trusting my mind, and I value my friends not underestimating my intelligence. And I value my friends being able to be honest with me, right? That's what I value. Anyhow, we're going to continue. So, again, what is impact versus what is influence? Impact, again, the effect you leave. Impact people is about lasting change. It's the footprint an artist or anyone leaves behind. It's measured in the how the world is different because of them. It's deeper and it's often tied to emotions, movements, or cultural shifts. Now, I said cultural shifts, I'm supposed to put it in quotation because what I realize is in this space, and no offense to anyone, right? No offense to anyone. When I hear these men talk, they're not differentiating between the different types of impact and the different types of influence. Yes, there are different types, people, even in dancehall. Every art form has different types. So we're going to get into that. Now, example, Cartel's impact. He changed the sound of business and dancehall, the business of dancehall, making it more raw, globally recognized. And so did Paul, right? But he altered Jamaican culture itself with the slang, the fashion, the street politics, and even the music industry structure. So we're going to get into that. Cartel's presence, is felt beyond just the music. So the influence is the power to persuade. Let me explain that to you. If I'm standing by the ocean and everybody is there sitting down on the sand eating fish, right? TG Media, all of them eating fish. Them not coming in the water. I go in the water because that's the first thing I go to, right? And I say, man, the water feels good. Oh my goodness, it's so clear. Oh gosh, it's warm. TG Media say, you know what? I want to feel that too. Yeah, let me do it. That's influence, right? Now, here would be the impact. That influence ran so deep on TG Media. He felt so good doing that and say, no, Miss Julia, you're right. I should really swim before I eat. I feel much better. I feel like my cross is getting washed off of me more. Right? Guess what? The next time I don't have to be there. The next time he goes to the beach, TG Media gonna head straight to the water. And if he keeps doing that, that is lasting impact. That influence that I had on him was so deep that it impacted the way he continued whenever he went to the beach. Now listen, if you don't understand my explanation of impact and influence from that, you just don't want to understand, right? Yes, Shaba was a foundation. That is true. But we're going to get into that, Imhotep. You can't rush the program, man. Big up Tuggy Frost. Bless up, Miss J. I hope you're having a blessed. I am. I surely am. So we're going to continue. Imhotep, 2 steps ahead. All right. Now, the key difference. Impact is the legacy. It lasts even after someone is gone, as I just explained. Influence is the power to shape things while they're still active. Just like the fire shaped my hand. In other words, influence is the fire, impact is the burn mark it leaves behind. Cartel has both, but his impact will remain even if he never records another song. But let's continue. Okay, we did all of this already. But in the context of music, right? Influence, cultural influence refers to the power or the ability to affect the music culture or the work of other artists, often creating lasting change or inspiration. So Cultural influence usually runs so deep that it affects lasting change or inspiration. That means it becomes impact. Now, unlike reach, there's a difference now. Unlike reach, which focuses on how widely something is spread, or impact, which speaks to the long term consequences of that spread, influence is about the direct effect an artist has on another, shaping styles, genres, or even societal attitudes. That's why I said there are different types of impacts, different types of influence. This falls under the umbrella of cultural influence and cultural impact. We're going to go deeper. Now, the key aspects of influence in music, shaping trends. So, artists with influence, cultural influence, they're often, sorry, responsible for setting musical trends, fashion trends, or even influencing the attitudes within the broader culture. Remember, I told you what dancehall was. It's more than just the music, right? Good. Inspiring other artists. This is another not matrix, Julia. What's the word? It's so easy. I don't know why I forget it. Anyway, this is another marker, right? Another measurement. Inspiring other artists. An influential artist often inspires other musicians to adopt similar styles, lyrics, or even the mentality that they bring to their music. For instance, and this is from my American friends that said that they're going to tune in because they want to learn more about the business of dancehall. Michael Jackson's influence can be seen in the way many modern pop artists, even now, approach performance, how they approach choreography. You can even think about Chris Brown and musical production, right? You can think about holy part Bruno Mars, right? His pioneering work is music videos, sorry, created a blueprint for the modern pop star image. Now, that was influent. He was an influential artist, but he was also impactful. So most times when it's really impactful, influence does overlap. But we're going to continue. Right. So influence, it can fundamentally change the course of a genre or even give rise to new genres. Don't forget I said that. Remember, one of the foundational blocks was, what is the diaspora? I want you to think. I want you guys to be able to step back and see the forest for the trees. Okay? Remember, I always tell you guys, zoom in and zoom out. Zoom out this time. We're going to look at dancehall as a whole, holistically, right? Many artists who are seen as innovators in their field, they have shaped the music sounds in some way, even changing the production techniques or the songwriting approaches that others follow. Okay, don't forget I said that too. Kanye West, for example, he changed the way hip hop was produced. He incorporated new sounds and avant garde ideas into his albums that not only affected hip hop, but also mainstream pop and other genres. Now, there's cultural and social influence as well, right? Influential artists, they don't just shape music, people. They also shape social movements, politics, and attitudes. Okay? The music, they speak broader to societal issues, creating a dialogue or raising awareness on important topics. Right? Now, Bob Marley's influence, think about it. Bob Marley's influence extended far beyond music, right? All of his songs about freedom, social justice, unity, they became anthems, especially for that civil rights movement period and the anti-colonial movement period, right? And his influence, it did affect world politics. Even lots of hippie movement came out of use him as an emblem, right? Social activism, it still resonates today. Now, here's the difference between influence. Hold on. Yeah, no, let me pass that. In simpler terms, influence is like the spark or the catalyst that gets others to change. Impact is the lasting mark. Now, okay, we talked about Jimi Hendrix before. I don't want to go too much into it. Guys, go back to the live one because we have a lot to cover today. So, Jimi Hendrix was another one with influence and impact. His Jimi Hendrix influence led to his impact. Don't forget this, right? You can go back and listen and look at it. But okay, fine, I'll explain. for the new people that don't know Jimi Hendrix. He's one of the most influential musicians in rock history. Yes, he's a black man. And yes, these a lot of the music that people think were of non-black origins, they really were. You guys have to look it up. So his unique approach to playing the guitar, right? His use of effects and stage presence, it influenced countless guitarists, even Eric Clapton and Kurt Cobain. You guys, and Kurt Cobain is a white rock artist as well. So you guys need to go up and look. Don't just study dancehall. If you love music, don't just study dancehall music. Study music. Be a student of music, because you're going to see some parallels, and you're going to see, if you're able to do this, Fire Nation, listen to me. If you're able to do this, you're able to see why dancehall is so special. It's the same thing like when a lot of Jamaican people don't know how special Jamaica and our culture is until they move away. These are facts. Right? So when you study other music forms and different genres, you get to appreciate how different our Jamaican dancehall and reggae is. Big up Merkaba 1360, my brother, my other brother, right? My other brother. What does he say? He says, Imatep, who is going to take over from Vibes Cartel and build dancehall, taking it to a higher level. Merkaba, can you listen? Don't distract from my teaching. No. We have to, Marika, one day we have to, well, we have to go on him live and ask, bombard him with some questions. But anyway, make her continue. Big up Merkaba. All right, the Beatles is also one too, right? So we're gonna skip all of that. Beyonce, that's my girl. She's not only influenced music, but fashion, dance, and cultural movements, right? Right. Her influence on performance and video production, especially with her visual release albums like Lemonade, is become a model for many pop stars, right? Good. All right. Now let's get into the meat of the matter. Why is influence so powerful? Why? Because influence creates waves. When an artist, people, is influential, they create a domino effect that leads to other musicians to follow suit. Okay? Now listen to me. Artists may not always have the most commercial success or global reach, but their influence can transcend time, often guiding the future direction of the genre or even the industry. Again, not because an artist does not have commercial success or global reach means that they're less or not influential, because there are different types of influence, and we're going to go into that. Now, yeah, we talked about that. Okay, talked about that. Here we are now. Basically, the first chapter of episode 2. Reach versus impact. My Fire Nation. Let me ask you. I just gave you the answer. Does reach necessarily equate to impact? No. Reach does not necessarily equate to impact. Why, Miss Julia? Why would you say such a thing? Why? Because reach is about how many people hear or see something. I'm not talking about their reaction. I'm talking about the reach. Reach, do not conflate reach with what I'm saying with reaction. Proximity with reaction, or spread with reaction. Reaction can affect spread. That's true. If somebody likes something, they will share it. So if somebody likes something, that will expand the reach. But if you pay for reach for a certain demographic or a certain amount of people, you still get the reach. So let's not confuse here, which I've been hearing some of the men say on platform. Do not confuse the reach, right, with the impact. Now, reach as factual is about how many people hear or see something. Impact is about how deeply it affects them. Don't forget that. So what does that mean, Miss Julia? What does that mean, Miss Bluefire? What that means is, yes, impact can affect reach, and so can influence. It can affect reach. Because if something deeply impact me, I'm going to share it. Then everybody share it. Then that's how things get viral. right? If it didn't have that impact or that influence, it wouldn't get that reach to become viral. However, however, that doesn't mean that necessarily um impact equals to reach. Impact can lead to reach. It doesn't mean that it equates to reach. Now, someone can have massive reach, like millions of views, followers, but leave little or no lasting impact. On the flip side, someone with a small but devoted audience can create a lasting cultural or emotional shift, but they just don't have the reach because they're small, right? Here's an example. I made sure to give you examples because everybody now is hot with TikTok. Let me check on you in the chat. Okay. Everybody now is hot with TikTok. Now, here's an example. A viral TikTok might reach millions but be forgotten in weeks. High reach, low impact. Bob Marley's One Love didn't just reach people, it transformed mindsets and still inspired global unity today. This was high impact even beyond his lifetime. At the time, he didn't have that much at One Love, did he have that much reach? I know at the beginning of the career, he didn't have that much reach, and the impact and influence affected his reach. But I digress. Right. They're related but distinct when it comes to music and influence. Now, here's some more fire reasons why reach does not equate to impact. Reach, it refers to the extent of exposure an artist, a song, or a genre gets. It's about how many people are hearing, seeing, and interacting with the music, whether it's through radio airplay, whether it's through streaming, concerts, or even social media. Now, their reach has some features. This is how you can tell its reach. Reach is, well, number one, is numbers based. Reach is often measured in terms of audience size. For example, the number of streams, the number of sales, the number of followers, the number of views. That's how they usually measure reach, right? Reach is also popularity. Reach reflects how widely known a song or an artist is, right? And that is mostly tied to visibility across different markets and demographics. Pardon me. Right? Now, pardon me. There is short term versus long term. An artist might have massive reach for a time, right? But reach alone doesn't guarantee long term cultural significance. Reach alone does not guarantee that, right? Here are some key features of impact. Remember, I just went over impact ad nauseum, but you're worth being nauseous. Impact again is about the deeper, more meaningful effect that music has. Now, here are some key features. Cultural influence. Impact is about changing the game, shifting perspectives, and setting trends. And that shape the musical movements or even the broader social changes. Impact, another feature, enduring legacy. If it's not enduring, it's not impact. An artist or song with impact creates something that resonates far beyond just chart performance. It shapes others, how others make music, and it influences future generations. Remember, I was telling you about with TG Media when he went into the water every other time when I wasn't even there, right? After I passed and gone, right? And impact usually has some kind of emotional or intellectual influence. Impact goes deeper than numbers. Okay, now listen to me. Impact goes deeper than numbers because numbers is what? What did I just tell you guys? Numbers reflect one of the factors of reach. Impact is deeper than numbers. It's about how music moves people, how it sparks creativity, how it shapes conversation and movements in society. Okay? Now, also, another point you should never forget, reach can be short term, people, but impact is long term. Okay? You can think about the viral songs and the trends, right? and the people who have viral hits and there's no real legacy there. Okay. And some artists actually have huge reach, but they're forgotten after their initial success, like a one hit wonder, right? But artists who create impactful music, they might not always have the immediate mass appeal or the immediate commercial success, but the influence, it continues to be felt even decades after their peak. Okay. Right. So I just explained all of that. One hit wonders. I talked before the slide. Right. Now, an artist like Vibes Cartel, he may not have the same global reach as Sean Paul, but his cultural and musical impact is profound. And it's deeply embedded in modern dancehall. You can't go around it. And he's influencing a generation of artists and fans, even if his numbers don't match the commercial success of others. Now, another thing is this: reach is obvious. Remember, it's measured in numbers. Of course, it's obvious. But impact, it can be subtle. How? Okay. The impact an artist has on other musicians, like and also the industry and the society, it may not always be visible in terms of streaming numbers, right? Or chart performance. But it still can be extremely significant because you still feel it. So impact is often subtle with music, and it takes time to be fully appreciated, right? But reach is immediate and reach is measurable. Okay, you can count it, or you can look at it. Now, here's an example for you. Bob Marley at the time, he didn't have the global streaming reach that a lot of these modern pop stars do now. But his impact on music, culture, and the social movements was far reaching. The or I should say deeper reaching, not far. Because far is more like broad. Deeper is deep, right? So yeah, so I should say deeply reaching and continues to influence not just reggae, but music worldwide. But no, you see, now the reach has caught up with the impact. Okay. Right. So we talked about that. Okay, let me give you an example of artists with reach but limited impact. Okay, example, this song here. I like a viral hit, was a viral hit. Old Town Road by Little Nas X. It broke a lot of records, right? But its cultural impact is still up for debate. It really still is. The cultural impact, and you know the culture I'm talking about. The song had a massive reach, but it didn't really change the trajectory of the music industry, right? In the way like Tupac or Bob Marley did. Now, let me give you an example of an artist with impact beyond his reach so far. Vibes Cartel. Cartel's reach is significant within the Caribbean, yes, and the dancehall circles, yes. But his impact on modern dancehall music, his impact on language, his impact on the youth culture has been far more profound than just his commercial reach. These are facts. Look at Nas. Nas has had success with his, like, listen, Nas's impact on hip hop is far greater than his reach, especially even the reach of his albums, right? His lyricism, his influence on other rappers, and his advocacy for social change. If you listen to Nas, right, that's his real legacy, not his reach. Hi, Summer, present. Hi, beautiful Summer. Beautiful summer day. Hello, darling. Good to see you. Yeah, I'm breaking it down. Breaking it all the way down, Summer. I'm glad to see you. Grace by our presence. Right? Good. So now listen. Reach is about visibility and how far an artist or song spreads. Impact is about lasting influence, cultural significance, and musical innovation that an artist has, even if they don't have the same mass visibility. So, what does that mean? That means, think. I want you guys to think with me here. An artist can have massive reach without creating any real impact. These are facts. But an artist who makes a real impact may not always have the biggest immediate reach. The key distinction here, Fire Nation, is that impact endures while reach can be fleeting. Now, I am not saying that this is Sean Paul. Never said that. And I'm going to go into why. But I don't like that narrative that I hear out there right now from some of the vloggers that basically say the reach equals to the impact. It does not. It does not. The impact can affect the reach. That's true. And maybe the reach might have something to do with the impact because the impact affects the reach. Think with me here. But that doesn't mean that they're equal. Now, they can overlap. How can they overlap, Fire Nation? Well, think about it. As I said, when reach, how far things go, is combined with substance, it can lead to impact. We can't go around the fact that Mr. Sean Paul had substance, but we're going to go deeper into it. When reach is combined with substance, it can lead to impact. I told you that. When an artist's work resonates deeply, reach helps to spread the impact further. That's what I said. If it's that's how things become viral. So while reach can amplify impact, it doesn't define it. Right? True impact, as I said before, is about how much something changes people, changes the culture or the world long term. Good. Now, reach again versus influence. We're going to go into it. I heard some people and some lies saying that, oh, that means that he had influence because they had reach. No, people can pay for reach. You can't pay for influence. These are facts. You pay for reach. That's the same thing with marketing. Guys, think about even when you advertise certain things on your business. You pay for reach because you believe that it will influence. And you believe that you won't need to spend as much money on that marketing reach in the future because you feel like as if it's going to go off so well that the reach is going to take care of itself. But you still have a marketing budget. But if the thing is good, it's going to start to, all it needs is a push. And it just snowballs. These are facts. It's not the same. So, Miss Bluefire, then what is the difference between influence and global reach? Or dear sweet fire sister? Great question, Fire Nation. And it's important to understand the difference between influence and global reach, especially when you're comparing artists like Vybz Kartel and Sean Paul. Now let's break it down clearly with fire from scratch. Again, global reach is how far across the world your name, music, or brand is known. Key traits again, high visibility in different countries, often connected to chart performance, airplay, social media numbers, its reach. May involve crossover or into other genres and languages because of the reach. And supported by international tours, label backing, or viral content. That's reach. Think of Shaggy, Sean Paul, Popcorn, Burna Boy, and Bad Bunny. You know why? Think about it. These artists, they have penetrated multiple markets: Europe, Latin America, Africa, Asia, etc. Even if people don't know much about their culture, they know the name or they know the song. Even if people don't know that much about dancehall, right? They will know Sean Paul or they will know the song "Give Me the Light" because of the reach. Okay, same thing with Bad Bunny. Same thing even with Burna Boy. A lot of people don't know all the other artists from the African artists, but they know Burna Boy. They know the songs, right? Good. Now, influence, the degree to which you shape, inspire, or impact others. Key traits: artists imitate your style, flow, slang, or delivery, right? Producers, writers, and fans reference you, even if you're not topping the charts, right? You can change the sound or direction of an entire game. That's influence. often rooted in depth, originality, and staying power. That's what it's rooted. That is going to lead to impact, right? Now think of Vibes Cartel, Bounty Killer, Little Wayne, Bob Marley. He did get global fame after the influence, though. So these artists here, they shifted the culture, the actual culture. You can be massively influential even without global fame. Now, Sean Paul versus Vibes Cartel, reach, impact, and influence. Here, I'm going to teach the difference between global reach and deep cultural influence. Now, Sean Paul has massive global reach. His music charted internationally, getting mainstream radio play and Grammy wins. Vibes Cartel had deeper cultural influence. Now, listen, in music, there are different types of influence, and I'm going to get into that. Right now, let me be clear. I'm talking about cultural influence. Vibes Cartel had deeper cultural influence. He shaped the sound, language, and the attitudes of dancehall and street culture in a lot of ways. His reach is more niche, but it's transformative. Now, there's a difference between commercial success and movement creation. Sean Paul had commercial success. Movement creation, we have to give that to Vibes Cartel, and I'll explain that to you why. Sean Paul made dancehall more palatable to international audiences, which was smart. That was a smart business move for him. And you know what? He didn't have to pretend to be something that he's not. That's what people are not getting. And that's why it's great. He never came out and pretend to love Clash or be a bad man because that's not who he was. These are facts. Now, but I'm going to go deeper into why he was more palatable. He made dancehall more palatable to international audiences. What does this mean, Miss Julia? This explains why his reach could go so far. He was more palatable to international audiences. His music was polished and radio friendly. I spoke to you about this last week, right? Is this smart? Of course it is. Yes, you're talented, but you should get paid for being talented. It's the business, people. Right? Don't separate business from the. Let me tell you, when I was at Howard, one of my best professors, she always said, this is not just show business. This is business show. You have to know about the business of the show. Right? This is the business of dancehall. Now, Cartel built a movement, Gaza Nation. His influence shaped not just music, but fashion, slang, and street politics in Jamaica. Now, there's a difference between pop dancehall and street authenticity. Sean Paul's music is dancehall influenced pop. It's influenced. His biggest hits, they lean into mainstream friendly sounds. Of course, that makes sense. Why? Because the fact that they are mainstream friendly sounds help the reach for it to become his biggest hits. Does that mean, Miss Julia, that you are saying, blessings, State of the Dancehall TV, blessings, good to see you here. Good to see you there. Good to see you. Blessings. Yeah. Now, does this mean, right? Okay, let me start over. Sean Paul's music is dancehall influence pop. His biggest hits lean to mainstream friendly sounds. Why does this make sense? Because the fact that they were mainstream friendly sounds is why they were able to have the reach. Because of the fact that the sound had substance, it became his biggest hits. I should have drew this as a circle. I have some diagrams for you, but I should have drew it as a circle when I was making it. Right? It's a circle. There's a reason why it's biggest hits. Now, does that mean that, is his mainstream friendly songs his best songs? Is that what you're saying, Miss Julia? No, I never said nothing about best. Stop mixing up these things. That's what I'm saying, guys. When you're talking about music, we have to know what we're talking about. We have to think. Fire Nation, my people over here, you guys think. You don't even take what I say as gospel. You think about it and break it apart. And if something don't make sense, you come back and tell me or ask me. Don't just swallow. what people give you out there. Think about it. Make it make sense to you. Okay? We're thinkers over here. Does that mean that it was his best songs? No. Not because something is their biggest hit mean that it was their best song. Especially when you're talking about reach. Let's continue. Cartel's music is raw, street-driven dancehall. His lyrics directly reflect and shape the realities of Jamaican youth and culture. Remember, I told you what dancehall was? There's a reason I did that. There's a reason why. This is the reason why Cartel music has so much influence and impact on dancehall. Cartel also, like Sean Paul, was not being anything that he was not. He never pretended to be no uptown youth who was prim and proper. He never did, because that's not who he was. Two different people. Now, in my humble opinion, and from me thinking it over and over and over and looking at the facts, the numbers, and thinking more, there's a difference between Sean Paul versus the bigger reach and less cultural influence. Okay? Sean Paul has massive global reach. His music charted internationally. We can't go around it. Getting mainstream radio play and Grammy wins. Vibes Cartel, to me, personally, from my study and from my interpretation and from my music history, Cartel has deeper cultural influence on the culture of dancehall and the Jamaican people. He shaped the sound, the language, and the attitudes of dancehall and street culture. His reach is more niche, but more transformative. There's a reason I repeated that line. Now, hit songs versus lifestyle shift. There's a difference. Remember, I told you that there are different types of influences in dancehall. So sometimes when I hear the man talk, or when no offense, when it's like, I just group influence into one thing and impact into one thing. Like I'm saying, guys, there's different types of influence in dancehall, because dancehall is not just music, it's also business. Now, let's go into hit songs versus lifestyle shift. Sean Paul makes big songs that people want to dance to. These are facts. You can't go around it. But they don't change behaviors or create long-term shifts. Right? They don't. For a little while, back in the day, people used to wear the goggles, but that stopped like after a year. Right? There was no long-term shift there with the culture. Dancehall culture. And there's a reason for that. Remember, I just told you there are two different men. Remember, I told you how important the diaspora is, but how important the seed is. Remember I told you how important identity is. Right? Who do you think the people of dancehall saw themselves more through? Sean Paul or Vibes Cartel? Think about it. Forget about the music, forget about the sound, forget about all of that. I'm talking about the influence, the actual touching. I think you know the answer to that. So Cartel influenced real world behavior, slang, and I said skin trends, as in, the tattoos and the lightning, but he didn't create it. Remember, I said Cartel influenced the real world behavior. More people started doing it. It's just like with Kim Kardashian and the BBLs. And like there were BBLs before, I'm pretty sure. But like after she start, make herself look like us, Black women, right? More people started to do it. Anyhow, that's another story for another time. Right. And he even influenced how artists structure their music careers. This is true. Now, Sean Paul music charted internationally, getting mainstream radio plays and Grammy wins. I told you that. Right? Longevity and of influence. Sean Paul, he has consistent mainstream appeal. He does. Consistent for over 20 years. He cannot go across. So reach alone wouldn't do that. Because as I said before in the last live, right? As I said to you before in the last live, there is no dollars from a label that going to keep pumping out for your reach when there's no mainstream appeal, when there's no substance. The reach must be combined with substance for it to last. Sean Paul does interact with reach and substance. We can't go around it, or he wouldn't last this long, over 20 years. But let's be fair here. No real movement follows him. Now, final verdict. Sean Paul equals to bigger global reach, mainstream success, but surface level cultural influence. Vibes Cartel, smaller global reach. So far, he's still coming. I'm not done yet. But deeper, long lasting cultural influence. Okay? Good. Now, we're not going to go around it because guess what? Sean Paul does have his own impact and influence. All right? So we're going to go into that. Right? We're not going to definitely ever lily down his career. Right? Because he's just as important. Now, Sean Paul's impact and influence. What changed because Sean Paul existed, Miss Julia? Good question. That's the impact. Remember, impact is the measurable mark. I'm going to keep driving it home. I don't care. I'm going to get tired of hearing me say it. Right? In hopes that it can spread and I can leave my own influence and impact. So people stop talking foolishness. But you know what, people? Fire Nation, I met them talk them foolishness. It's for you to discern his foolishness and for you to think about it. Remember, we're thinkers. So wherever you go, Fire Nation, any other platform that you go to, always think for yourself. Impact, remember again, the measurable mark an artist leaves on industries, markets, and global culture. Good. Now, what kind of impact did Mr. Sean Paul show the world? Global commercial impact. Guys, remember I said this to you at the beginning. In music, in art, in dancehall, therefore, there are different types of impact and different types of influence. These are facts. Now, Sean Paul had global commercial impact. Sean Paul became the most globally commercially successful dancehall artist in history. It's facts. He helped mainstream dancehall internationally, especially in North America, Europe, Asia, Latin America. Songs like Get Busy, Temperature, Gimme the Light, No Lie, Cheap Thrills, and Rockabye, it did dominate global charts, right? Billboard's number ones and multi-platinum records, they placed dancehall inside pop radio rotation permanently. These are facts. Thanks to my friend Charles, who works at the radio station. Right? Good. Global commercial impact. Now, he proved that dancehall could be radio friendly. That's no small thing, people. He proved that dancehall could be chart dominant. And he proved that it could be profitable at a global scale. That is no small feat on the entire dancehall industry. Now, record labels, and he had industry level impact. What's that? What do you mean by that? I'm glad you asked. Record labels realized dancehall could be exported safely and profitably. That's industry level impact on the entire music industry. It opened doors for dancehall pop fusion, Caribbean artists signing major label global deals as well. It changed how Caribbean accents, rhythms, and slangs were accepted in mainstream pop. That's true, right? and it made it easier for labels to invest in Jamaican artists without fearing controversy. This is the business here. He did do that. That did happen. That was a result of him. Pardon me. Made it easier for labels to invest in Jamaican artists without fearing controversy. Controversy. And when I say Jamaican artists, I mean dancehall. Now listen. Remember, I said dancehall is also a business. Did I not say that? So what does that mean? That means that there was economic impact. Oh, hi, King One Drop. Big up, big up, big up yourself. Good to see you. Economic impact. It generated hundreds of millions of dollars in album sales, touring revenue, collaborations, and sync licensing. Right? He became a reliable hit maker, making him attractive for film soundtracks. These are facts. Commercial campaigns, global collaboration, and he created a repeatable business model. Clean dancehall plus pop infrastructure. This is the business of it. This is what he did. This was the economic impact. So he had a different type of impact than Cartel did and a different type of influence. But we're going to go further. People copied and followed his blueprint. Okay? Now, influence would be how many people want to move like you, sound like you, or build the way you did. That's musical influence. Right? Yeah, he popularized pop crossovers as a dominant global sound. Like he did influence reggaeton artists, Afrobeat artists, right? Pop producers using dancehall rhythms. He did influence them. The pop producers, the American ones using some dancehall rhythms, that he did influence them. And yeah, he normalized Caribbean flows on the pop beats. He did do that. Also, he had collaboration culture influence, right? He did have a good reputation as the go-to dancehall feature artist. He did, people. That is called collaboration culture influence. He collaborated with Beyonce, Sia, Dua Lipa, Rihanna, Drake, Major Lazer, right? And his collaborations, it did introduce dancehall to audiences who never searched for it. It's true, right? He influenced newer artists to prioritize features for reach. He did. A lot of artists saw his blueprint. These are facts. A lot of artists saw his blueprint because they're in it for the money as well, right? Even though they still love the craft, right? And see that they can prioritize features to increase their reach. Now, here's the thing. He had a brand and persona influence. He was safe for corporate. Why was he safe, Miss Julia? Why? Because his image was non-threatening. He was professional and he was media trained. Right? He does influence, and he did influence how Caribbean artists package their sound and present themselves internationally. At least some. So what was he in essence? A safe cultural ambassador for Jamaica abroad. Yes, I told you he was the safe choice. It's still impact, it's still an influence, whether you like it or not. Right? Now, this is where Sean Paul is unmatched. His audience includes non-Caribbean listeners, older demographics, that's true, and global pop audiences. Many of his fans don't follow dancehall. Many of his fans don't know Jamaican music history, but they still know Sean Paul's hits. Right? It's facts. Now, he has strengths, but he also has limitations. Hi, Scara. Blessings. That's yes, I know the Grammy. Yep. I think it starts at 8 o'clock. Get ready to witness it tonight. All right. Well, yeah, I'm hoping for the best. I'm definitely hoping for the best. I would definitely. I mean, I would not be honest if I act nonchalant like I don't want him to win it. I do, definitely. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how it go. Like, you know, I'll definitely be there. Now, the strengths and limitations of his influence. The strengths: massive global reach, long career longevity, clean brand. What does that equal to? Unlimited partnerships. He's non-controversial. He's the safe choice. I just told you that. He brought dancehall into global pop markets. He sure did. Here's the limitations. He did not deeply reshape street level dancehall culture. That's not who he was. He didn't spawn a strong internal movement. No Gaza, no gully level influence at all. These are facts. But that's not who he was. But it's still true. Influence is broad. His influence is broad, but not deeply transformative at the culture core. Remember, I told you there are different types of influence. This is cultural influence, right? Now, you can argue which influence is more important. It depends on where you stand. I think cultural influence is very important, especially when it comes to dancehall. As I told you, dancehall is not just music, it's also part of culture. Now, fans enjoy the music, but don't necessarily imitate his lifestyle or his language, the way he's dressed or his identity. They don't. They don't. Now, Sean Paul's impact is structural and global. He opened doors. Great. That's good. His influence is wide but light. People danced to Sean Paul more than they wanted to become him. These are facts. You cannot go around it. People danced to Sean Paul more than they wanted to become Sean Paul or be like Sean Paul. Here's why one line. Sean Paul made dancehall acceptable to the world, but Vibes Cartel, he makes dancehall unavoidable. You guys recognize people in here? So the original crew. Look what she did, Maga. Watch them now. You know who this is. Anyway, let's continue. We're going to talk about Vibes Cartel impact and influence. Okay, ready for this? He is considered one of the most impactful and influential figures in the history of dancehall music. His influence extends far beyond just his music, right? Not only shaping the genre, but also the culture, the language, and the politics around it. Here's an in-depth fire look at his impact and his influence. He's credited with redefining the sound of dancehall in a lot of ways, right? He has the ability to take the traditional dancehall rhythms and make them more radio friendly, while still maintaining the raw energy and authenticity that dancehall fans cherish. They can still see themselves through him. He does have the ability to mix hardcore dancehall with elements of pop and reggae and hip hop, right? And he is showing that dancehall can appeal to a global audience while staying true to its roots. He's known for innovative lyrical content. He is. His lyrics are often a mix of street level realism, political commentary, and explicit content. And it does resonate with the youth's culture. He's considered one of the best lyricists in dancehall. And he has an ability to adapt his flow and tackle a wide range of subjects from party anthems to social and political commentary. Okay? Global reach. Now he's achieving international recognition with collaborations with artists like, well, this is from before, Rihanna and Nicki Minaj. Now his success in the digital age is helping dancehall gain more traction on streaming platforms and social media. Right? Beyond music though, he has a profound impact on Jamaican culture, particularly among the youth. We talked about his fashion sense and his social issues. Now, He's making his mark on the business side of the music industry, right? He's a label owner, and he created a platform for new artists and provided them with the opportunity to shine. Okay. Even collaborating and helping the generation now of dancehall stars like Popcorn and even Alkaline. He did help him. Now, he's widely seen as an innovator in dancehall. Why? He has been emulated, like followed by countless younger artists, especially when it comes to his lyrical complexity and his flow and his genre blending, right? Alkaline, Popcorn, Movado, Spice, they've all been influenced by Cartel's approach to performing, writing, and even the public persona. His influence on the other people's careers in dancehall, it cannot be overstated. Right? Cannot. Yeah, right now he's actually embracing the digital media, which is very good. Right? And his early adoption of it helps to revolutionize how it's being consumed right now. Right? He is engaging with fans, building a global fan base. It keeps him in touch with his fans. So he is a symbol for a generation embodying self-expression and resilience. Okay, and his influence over young Jamaicans is significant. Right? Very significant. His influence is visible in fashion, speech, and the attitudes of many young people. Because it's now ingrained in the culture. Okay? Yeah, we talk about his fashion and his pop culture and his political and social impact. Right? So, his innovative sound, lyrical mastery, and rebellious persona, it had redefined the genre, influencing not only Jamaican music, but also a bit of the pop culture. Right? But his influence goes beyond music. He's shaping not only the genre, but also the language and the politics surrounding it. Now, we talked about Sean Paul's impact versus, now we're going to talk about, Sean Paul's impact versus Cartel's impact. Now, again, it's the burn mark. It's not about reach. It's not about inspiration. It's about irreversible change. You can remove the fire flame, but the fire mark still remains. Okay? Impact, again, is what is permanently changed after the fire passes. Impact asks you, what was altered forever because you existed? Cartel's impact lives in how lyrics are written, how intelligence is embedded in street language, how irony, shock, and commentary coexist. Even artists who dislike Cartel write differently because of him. The land was scorched, and it never went back. It never reset. Cartel permanently changed dancehall internal DNA. These are facts. Impact shows up even in his absence. Let me tell you, true impact, as I said to you before, exists without visibility, without you being around. It survives restriction. It persists even when the access is removed. Even when the fire flames access to my skin was removed, the impact remained. It persisted in the mark, as the mark. Cartel's cultural footprint, it continued while he was physically removed. It continued across generations. That's not momentum. That's structural change. That's not momentum, people. That's change from the inside. Now, Sean Paul's impact. Sean Paul permanently changed dancehall's global position. He shifted dancehall from regional to global um, viability. He proved Jamaican sound could lead the pop charts. It could sustain radio presence, right? And it could fill arenas even if he wasn't the only one on the show. After Sean Paul, the global industry couldn't unsee dancehall. They couldn't unsee dancehall after Sean Paul. Wow, that rhymed. I didn't even mean it. I always do that. They couldn't unsee dancehall after Sean Paul. I like that. But it's facts. Excuse me. That's a burn mark. That's impact on the world stage. No, he altered industry behavior. After Sean Paul, labels invested differently. Festivals booked Jamaican acts more confidently. Radio programmers became receptive to more Jamaican sounds. Those systems didn't revert. That's institutional impact, not just fan response. Here's another type of impact in the arts: institutional impact. Okay, good. He changed what success looked like. Before Sean Paul, yeah, dancehall success was mostly local or regional. Mostly, I'm not going against Shabaranks or everybody else. I said mostly. After Sean Paul, global success became a credible goal, not just a fantasy. Entire careers were built on that possibility. People started to follow that blueprint. When expectations shift permanently, impact has occurred. This is the mentality. Like when the mind has shifted permanently, you can't unsee it. The genie can't go back into the bottle. Impact has occurred. Right? Even artists who don't sound like him, don't move like him, right? They still benefit from the pathways he burnt open. That's impact through infrastructure. That's we're talking about the business here of even having the system behind you, the label behind you. It's still part of the infrastructure of the music business. All right, here's the charts I made for the visual people. For the visual people, it's a real debate, but it's not a contradiction. Cartel and Sean Paul left marks in different places, people. Ladies and gentlemen. Hi, Crip Cartel. Big up, big up. They left different types of impact. Cartel's impact was internal. And thank you for the super chat clip. Cartel's impact was internal. Internal. Right? Remember, we talk about what is dancehall and the dancehall people. Internal. Sean Paul's impact was more external. Why? Cartel's impact internal. The language, the mentality. He is a cultural architect. Sean Paul's impact was more external, meaning the industry systems, the global acceptance, the market expectations. Different types of impact, different structures in dancehall, in all art. Both fires burned, people, just on different terrain. We need to start looking at dancehall as a business as well as the arts. And we need to start being able to think this way and look at things holistically. Luckily, I wasn't in any fight with anybody. And luckily, as women, we kind of take a more bird's eye approach to a lot of things. Right? So we can look at things as holistically, like as a whole, considering all parts. Even though Cartel is my artist still. There was a time when Sean Paul was my artist. Well, not my artist like that, but I mean, like I still, I still dance to the Sean Paul songs, but I never really had an artist like that. That's what I mean, right? Except for Capleton, I like Capleton a lot, and Supercat. Yeah, I have very few. And big up Mr. Vegas too. He was definitely a staple. For sure. Definitely a staple. And a cultural gem. Now, here's my fire metaphor for you guys. Think of him like this. Cartel is a volcano. What do volcanoes do? You ever see what happened to the land after a volcano? He reshaped the land itself. That's what a volcano does. Right? It's so impactful, it's so deep, it's so hot. Pardon me. It reshapes the land itself. And you know what else volcanoes do? A lot of people don't know this. But it actually can make the land more fertile. Why? Because of the ash. You see the ash? When it lands onto the to the land, like say if it's grassland or etc., it actually pours minerals into the land. So it makes it more fertile. Don't ask me why I know that. There's just too many too many National Geographic shows. Anyhow, yeah, so he reshaped. Sorry. Listen, I have to have fun when I teach you guys. Hope you guys having fun too. Cartel is a volcano. He reshaped the land itself. Sean Paul is a wildfire. He cleared a path across continents. Right? He's a wildfire. And what does a wildfire do? A wildfire has a lot of reach. Hi, Miss T. Welcome back. Welcome back, Star Student. Right? You don't measure those fires the same way, people. Cartel impact so far, because I tell you, him don't done, him just a come. Cartel impact is internal so far. He burned change into dancehall's language and mindset. Sean Paul's impact is external. He burnt dancehall into the global industry's memory because of the reach and the substance. Different burn marks, same level of heat. Here's the final truth. If impact were singular, one of them would be erasable. Neither of them is. That's how you know both left real impact. I remember I spoke to you about the diaspora and scattered seeds. This has a lot to do with it. Now we're going to talk about Sean Paul's influence versus Cartel's influence. Let me ask you something. This is a cultural, no, we're talking about cultural influence here now. This is a cultural influence test for you. Fire Nation, cultural interest test. I want you to think. Don't answer. Don't tell me. Unless you want to tell me in the chat, but you don't have to. Just think about it for yourself. If both artists disappeared tomorrow, whose absence would change how dancehall sounds 5 years from now? If, listen, I'm not challenging you to be in your feelings. I'm challenging you to think forward and not emotionally. Just think. Unbiased. If both artists disappear tomorrow, this is the cultural influence test. If both other artists disappear tomorrow, whose absence would change how dancehall sounds 5 years from now? Okay. Scale of inspiration, global spark. That's Sean Paul's influence. Sean Paul inspired artists across continents. I said that before. Non-Jamaican performance to approach dancehall. I said that before. Pop and Afro diasporic fusion movements. Yeah. His influence made people say, this sound can work worldwide. Huh. That's influenced by possibility, not imitation. That's facts. For millions of people globally, Sean Paul was their first dancehall artist. Why? Because of the reach. Why? Because he was able to reach that far. Have that reach. Even if the label is behind him. He had that reach, and clearly it had influence and impact. So it just kept reaching. Right? He was their first dancehall artist. Why? Because maybe most of them never used to listen to dancehall. They still don't. But they can name Give Me the Light. He influenced listener tastes, industry willingness to invest in dancehall, and festival booking patterns. That's true. So influence isn't only about copying style. It's also about opening doors. I want you to remember this. It's also about opening doors. And you know why, too? Let me tell you how I know you know this, gentlemen and ladies. Let me tell you how I know you know this. What you guys all let's see, every 5 months, Julia, or 4.5? No, let me give them 5.5. Every 5.5 months, a new argument come up. Who boss who? In other words, who opened the door for who? So you guys know it's significant. But you just don't. What you listen to me? I tell you now, if you're gonna deal with me, we're gonna put the cards on the table. We're gonna deal with truth. It can't go one way one time and don't go another way another time. Okay? If opening doors matters, then opening doors matters across the board. So he had influence there. He didn't open doors himself, like introduce anybody, bring anybody with him, and stuff like that. And that is to his criticism in a lot of ways, right? A lot of people don't like that he didn't open doors that way by pushing artists. But there's more than one ways to open a door, right? In business, you know this too. Sometimes opening doors is the way you represent your culture. So people will be like, you know what? I've worked with a Jamaican lady before and she was awesome. I'm going to give this Jamaican company a chance. When before, they just go off a hearsay. But now they have the experience with this wonderful Jamaican business owner. On time, more than on time, above and beyond. So now that open up their mind to say, you know what? No, Jamaican people, they're good man. They're just like regular people. Don't listen to the foolishness that you hear around the place. You can open doors in different ways. There's not one way to open doors. No, there's one way probably to boss somebody, yeah, and be like a immediate influence. But there are more than one ways to open doors. Okay, good. Next, he was a diaspora multiplier. Go back to the first live when I was talking about the diaspora. See, there was method in my madness. There's a reason I talked about the diaspora, right? His influence created space for Jamaican music in clubs, radios, and charts. Not him alone, but they did it, right? Longevity of the global reach, we can't go around it. Multiple pop eras, he has last across them, right? Now, Cartel's influence. Artist to artist imitation. This is the strongest signal of influence. Let me tell you why. And you guys know this. Because guess what? You always say that, well, imitation is the best form of flattery. It's true. People might not like you, and then don't like that they like you. Trust me. This is something I know. I live every day. People like you and don't like the fact that they like you. So they convince themselves that they don't like you. When actually they like you. Or they're fans. And they become haters. 1 second. Let me drink. Right? So people will people will like you and imitate you and pretend like them never hear you say it, or they never get it from you, or it's not you spark the idea. But it's okay. You can do a world of good if you don't care who gets the credit. But these are facts, right? Artist to artist imitation. This is the strongest signal of influence. Why? Because you affect the person's mind and the way and change the way they're gonna do things and how they do it. Right? Right. And as an artist, especially in our culture too, the way we grow up with people don't want to follow people and say about follow fashion monkey or all type of something, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. But yeah. So when somebody imitates you, it is a very, very high compliment. So don't get offended. Anyway, new and emerging dancehall artists often write, phrase, and think more like how Cartel write and think. His cadence, wordplay, irony, and clash mentality, they are actively replicated. They are. Whenever influence causes imitation of craft, it runs deep. Pardon me. Cartel didn't just inspire listeners, he also inspired creators. This is important. It's fine to inspire your audience, but when other creators start getting inspired by you, Whoo, you touch a nerve there. These are facts. That's across every industry, right? That's across every industry. And I want you guys to think about what I'm saying. Think about it. I don't want you to just take it because I said it. Think about it. When you inspire your audience, that's great. But when other creators are inspired by you, okay, that means it's a different standard. Now, Cartel also influenced adoption. Sorry, right? Why? How his dominance is expressed lyrically. He's a lyrical. Listen, we're gonna go into it. How artists positions intelligence inside of street music. He influenced that. Even artists who don't sound like him often think through his framework. That's influence on the ideological level. That's deep, right? Now, look at this. He had that type of influence without infrastructure. Remember, it's internal. Cartel's influence spread. How? Without heavy touring. Can you imagine if he had the heavy touring? Without sustained music, mainstream radio, right? Without award show cycles. Yet, artists still cite, echo, and adapt his style. Influence that survives without amplification is organic power. This is important, and I'm going to say it again. Fire Nation. Influence that survives without it being amplified, without it having the power behind it, the push behind it, without it having the reach to help it survive, that is organic power. Again, influence that survives without amplification. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you that reach is an amplification? That is organic power. If your thing is good, your substance is good, like Sean Paul, and you couple that with amplification, you couple that with reach, it will quadruple, quintuple everything because it has substance. So it would be good on its own, but now it's spread to other people, and those people spread it, and those people spread it. So that reach helps is an amplification. So that can help something survive. Now, if you have influence that survive without that backing, and it survive off of its own strength, its own initial strength, with people liking it and sharing it, and liking it and sharing it, and liking it and keep playing it, that's great. But it wasn't reach, whereas that is multiplied. That is organic power. You can't go around it. These are facts. It's the same everywhere. Now, internal cultural gravity. I was just talking to you about it. Right? He's often the reference point. He is. He really is. He often is the reference point. You know what's funny? Well, I'll go into that after. Anyhow, he influences what matters inside the culture, not just what sells. This is influence at the source where styles are born. Remember, I said the source, dancehall, internally. Remember, I talk about also the diaspora. I want you to start thinking about it like a tree with roots and branches. Okay? Good. They represent both these men. Why the debate still exists. And even though I love to hear, the arguments back and forth. Oh, it's 4:44. It's a good sign I saw that. Right? Why the debates exist, the real reason, they represent two different types of influence. Sean Paul has access influence, affects who believes that they can try. And a lot of people follow his blueprint. He lights the fire around the world. Cartel has creative influence. He affects how artists create, and he lights his fires inside of the culture. There are two different types of influence. Fire Nation, both ignite fire, just in different terrains. Okay? One lights the fire inside the culture, the other spreads sparks outside of it. Which is more influence? It depends on where you're standing, depends on how you look at things. But it's two different types of influence. That's why the comparison falls apart. They're not the same type of artist. Completely different. I don't. You couldn't even you couldn't you couldn't even choose two more opposite dancehall artists. Well, maybe you could have choose maybe Mavada and Sean Paul, but than than them. And you want come, I tell you, but it's good though. It's good. Iron sharpen iron, and I love to listen to you guys talk when I'm working. All right. Global influence breakdown. Sean Paul is more globally recognized and has influenced pop and mainstream music. Right? How artists from non-Caribbean countries use dancehall flavor, example reggaeton, Afrobeats, EDM. Influence radio producers and labels. He proved that dancehall energy could sell globally. He continued to prove it because it's not only him. Shabba did that good. We had some before. But his influence is broader but more shallow when compared with style, rhythm, and presence, and changing how artists write, changing how artists sound and think. He's shallow when it comes to that, when it comes on to the Vibes Cartel. But his influence is broader. Now, here's another table for you guys who like to visually learn. Side by side comparison. I'm going to tell you what these things mean because I've been saying global reach and influence, and I did this I created right when I was writing. I was like, you know, Julia, break down what global reach and influence, because you did that before, but explain more the elements. So, global reach, what it means, as I said before, how far your name, your music goes, not how people feel about it, how far it goes. You can pay for that. Influence, how deeply your work shapes others. Who feels it? Who feels the global reach? The general public worldwide. Who feels the influence? Mainly other artists and core fans and fans. What is global reach powered by? What is global reach powered by? Marketing, collaborations, radio, and also if it becomes a hit and people keeps sharing it. What is influence powered by? What is it powered by? What's behind it? Talent, originality, consistency. Now, is global reach short term? It can be, sure. It can definitely be short term. One, you can be viral today and we forget about it tomorrow. Can be short term. Can influence be short term? It's often long term, right? And when when it leads to lasting, that is impact. Give me an example, Julia, of global reach. All right, yeah, Sean Paul's his songs have great global reach. They're heard globally, right? Give me an example of influence. Vibes Cartel, he influenced how dancehall is, how it is. Okay. Sean Paul has global reach. People in India, Brazil, Sweden, they know his songs. Even if they don't follow dancehall, they don't have to follow dancehall to know Sean Paul. Wow, that rhymes again. But still again, it was the same Sean Paul and dancehall. But I like that line. I'm gonna write it. I'm gonna coin it. But Vibes Cartel has deep influence. The way newer artists write, sing, and even come across from his blueprint. Even if he's less known outside the Caribbean diaspora for now. Here is my final fire thought. You can be globally known, but not deeply influential, depending on the influence, the cultural influence, definitely. And you can be hugely influential without being globally enormous. Please saturate yourself in that reality. Vibes Cartel has deep, very deep cultural influence. Melody, his sing J delivery too, lyrical style, his flow, his wordplay, his metaphors, the fashion language. But so far, his global reach is more concentrated within the Caribbean diaspora. An artist who studied the genre, not random pop audiences. Not yet. If that's what's even if that's if you even want that, I don't know. Here's the side by side comparison. Global reach when it comes to Sean Paul, high, mainstream, and pop audiences worldwide. Global reach when it comes to Vibes Cartel, medium. Mostly the Caribbean, Africa core fans around the world and core fans of dancehall around the world. Influence depth when it comes to Sean Paul, moderate. He inspired genre blending. Influence depth when it comes to Vibes Cartel, high. He changed how artists write and how artists and other people perform. I should not put this here, but I should have put like how society performs. Change the sound, Sean Paul, somewhat because he did the pop dancehall fusion. Change the sound, Vibes Cartel, absolutely, because he helped redefine modern dancehall. Influence an artist, Sean Paul, pop and EDM acts. Influence an artist, Vibes Cartel, yes, most younger dancehall acts and also the underground. Cultural impact, Sean Paul, light, globally. Cultural impact, Vibes Cartel, deep in dancehall and the urban culture. Can't go around it. Take a picture. Do what you need to do. Final verdict. Sean Paul is more globally known. Vibes Cartel is more globally studied. Sean Paul exported the vibe, and Vibes Cartel rewrote the blueprint. Both are needed. Now we're going to talk about Cartel's impact as a businessman. Okay? We're going to talk. We're almost finished, people. Just hang in there. Cartel's impact as a businessman. Best up, DJ. Best up, DJ. Best up, DJ. Good to see you, my dear. Good to see you. So, let me see. Yeah. So, impact again, the burn marks left on the business of dancehall. Now, this is not about revenue numbers alone, people. This is about what permanently changed in how dancehall operates as a business because Cartel existed. He is helping and he has helped shift dancehall from artist to enterprise. Right? A lot of artists stop seeing themselves as only performers because of Cartel. He built Gaza as a brand now. It's not just a crew. He treated music output as intellectual property at scale. He understood that visibility equals leverage and narrative control equals to power. He understands that. That's impact as a business person, right? After Cartel, artists are thinking more now about ownership, output volume, and brand loyalty. That mindset did not reverse. That brand loyalty, I can see it, even though, sometimes they fight amongst each other for, this is why I don't like the fighting, because I can see the potential. If they all live just are the ones who are really, for Gaza, stick together. It's very strong. It's very strong. The brand loyalty there. And I'm telling you, as somebody who knows brands and knows marketing, right? The identity is there. That is very, very deep. And especially as a business person. So He maintained dominance without the consistent radio plays. He proved that independence can still dominate. A lot of artists had it in their head that, oh, you have to be in the label to dominate, or as soon as you get to a label, you dominate. That's foolishness. You can see it from history, right? I hear Shensia sign again, by the way. You put the dots together. I haven't heard anything so far. And she wasn't signed when that big night song come out. Anyway, so sometimes you just have to think for yourself. He proved that independence could still dominate. Right? He continued dominating without touring access and award cycle promotions. He still controlled the conversation, still helped dictate trends, and still generated demands. Right? He's changing how artists evaluate deals, advances, and control versus exposure. This is important. This is what, if you study Cartel's career as a business mind, like how I like to look at him, because I like to look, I'm you guys know I'm strange, as always. Like, I would look at something, consider it with the mind of an artist, consider it with the mind of a fan, or a viewer, and consider it with the mind of a business person. That way I can be able to weigh all three perspectives. That's fun for me. You have to be able to think in different ways. If you look at his career as a business person, you can see that he's proving that this is always something to consider: control versus exposure. Right? A lot of short-term gains are terrible in the long term. You have to have the discernment to know. A lot of people run to go sign, and it kill them career, or it squash their career, or they have to put out certain things. Right? So the creativity gets stifled. It happens all the time. But then there's some people who, that's how I always say, if you're going to get signed, make sure you have enough power. So you don't need the signing. It's just to amplify you. Right? I always say, but anyhow, that's a different business matters conversation that we will have with a producer sometimes in the future. Yeah. So independence stop meaning small. People always think that independence, you're independent artist, that means small. Not necessarily true. Clearly, he proved that. Now, Burn Mark, he's a content engine, not just precious job. He's not a pepperlight artist. What we call pepperlight artists, my American and and Canadian friend, pepperlight as in Christmas time, right? Not just Christmas time, come up with something, right? Constant presence, market control. If you control attention, you control the demand, right? Even his social media cadence, it shows that. And his direct to audience strategies. He talks to his people, right? His fan base are markets for him, not just listeners. He has identity based loyalty. That's why people always say, guys, I'm gonna say, right? Identity based loyalty. Even though other people have different crews as well as stuff and stuff like that. This, the you guys need to think about it for yourself. There's cultural buy-in as well and emotional investment. We talked about that last live, right? Fans didn't just listen or dance. They defended. They still do defend. They still do promote. And they still do reproduce the brand. These are facts. Maybe I can see it different than maybe how people who are in it for a long time to are in it sees it. Maybe. That's why the infighting thing I don't really like, because is a distraction from what I can see as a business person what Gaza Nation could be if everybody, or at least the real people, just, stick together. But that is not for me to decide. Now, that is community economics, not just fandom. Go and look it up. Every smart business person too, an artist, they connect in that way. Even if you don't like Taylor Swift, listen, if you ever tell a Swiftie you don't like her, you don't like the last album, and when them get to defending her and telling you all of this, even with K-pop, look at K-pop, right? I think they have some people called the nation or something like that, right? It's the same thing. It's not cultish, it's identity-based loyalty. It's the same thing with Lululemon. I'm telling you this from a business aspect, people. That doesn't mean that it's not real. It's very real. It's very emotionally tied, right? Because there's identity based. They can see themselves through Carter, and they want to see themselves through Carter and through what he stands for and what he's building, and everything. So even Lululemon, they'll have like a little the people who wear it. Them kind of like have a little cultish thing. We're not cultish, but you know what I mean, right? The better word for it. It's facts. Can't go around it. But that also reflects the movement following cartel. That also reflects influence and impact. It goes hand in hand. It goes hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Well, you can, but for it to, when it's really, really good, it overlaps just like this. Right? That's community economics, not just fandom. Look it up. Look up community economics. So as a business owner who understands positioning, marketing, and branding, he monetizes narrative, not just music. Right? Yeah. His story has become an asset. From the last live, I told you that. He became brand equity, conversation currency, and cultural relevance. Artists should understand that if you don't control your story, you lose the business. You do. Right? Burn mark. Artists realized controversy didn't automatically kill value as well. Mishandled silence does. Because he did have controversy, but it didn't kill his value. Right? But he did mishandle his silence. He always come out and talk to people. Visibility, it can outweigh your controversy. Right? If the audience trust is maintained, and through his actions, his trust is maintained. Cultural relevance can protect brand equity. Okay? Now, comparison, different impacts. Remember, I told you there are different types of impacts in music, different types of influence in music. Sean Paul's business impact was what? He expanded markets. He validated the global monetization, and he opened corporate doors. Cartel's business impact, he changed the artist's psychology. He reframed independence, and he redefined audience ownership. He is really connected to Gaza Nation. Really connected. So, Cartel didn't just make money in dancehall. This is the line. He burned new rules into how money gets made. You can put out his flame, but the ground remembers the heat. Cartel's business impact isn't measured in contracts signed. It is measured in how artists think about ownership, output, and control today. That's not just influence. That's structural change. That's changing the beams. That's not just influence as in paint in the room. Now, is Sean Paul more successful than Vybz Kartel? I heard this argument before. And it was very Let's just continue. Is Sean Paul more successful than Vibes Cartel? This is my question to you, Fire Nation, for you to think to yourself regarding this. This is my question to you. When we say success, are we talking about money? You talking about reach? Are you talking about cultural control? What are you talking about? No, another question. Can an artist be globally famous but internally replaceable? And can an artist be culturally dominant without global access? Two different types of success. Before choosing sides, you have to define what success means. Are we talking commercial success? Are we talking cultural dominance? Are we talking influence on the genre? Are we talking longevity and global penetration? I know people will say, why for that? But whatever. Anyway, are you talking control over the culture versus acceptance by the mainstream? This debate exists because Cartel and Sean Paul won in different arenas. Pun intended. Cartel rewrote the DNA of modern dancehall, language, the slang, the themes, the vocal patterns. Entire generations of artists sound closer to Cartel than Sean Paul. I told you this before, right? People who dance to Sean Paul, but then don't want to be Sean Paul. Dancehall culture today, especially lyrical and clash culture, reflects Cartel's blueprint, right? Good. Yeah, and he had longevity of relevance, relevance, even from prison. He remained charting, trend-setting, and cultural dominant. This happened without touring, without interviews, without award shows, without promotion. That level of relevance with limited access is almost unmatched in music history, almost, but still very close. Right? Now, I want you guys to think about this. There is depth of impact versus breadth. Breadth means how far something stretch. Depth, as you know, deep. Right? Think about deep and wide. Fountain flowing deep and wide. Anyhow, Sean Paul reached more countries. Cartel shaped identity, language, and mentality. Cartel didn't just entertain, he sparked debates, he defined eras, and he shifted the norms. Now, Cartel level of impact is structural, not surface. There is street credibility and authenticity. Cartel is seen as unfiltered, uncompromised, and raw. He is who he is. Sean Paul is who he is too. But when it comes to street credibility and authentic to the culture of dancehall, because of who he was, where he came from, these are facts. Remember, I told you dancehall is not just music. It's a culture and a subculture. Many fans feel he represents dancehall on his own terms, not adjusted for global comfort. See? You see that? Many fans feel Cartel represented dancehall on its own terms, not adjusted for global comfort. And I've heard this argument before, not on YouTube streets, but just talking with other people who love dancehall. And they always water down the diaspora, right? They don't like the scattered seeds, even though they are one, right? They don't understand why they don't think that the branches are important. They think it is threatening to real dancehall, any kind of fusion. They don't like it. They're purists. I know some people like that. And they have the right to think that way they want to think. That's for them business. And you can think the way you want to think too. I'm just giving you the information for you to connect your own dots. Good. Now, Cartel, architect of modern dancehall language and style. He influenced multiple generations of artists. He maintained dominance even while incarcerated, despite of his cultural relevance is greater than his commercial metrics. Again, his cultural relevance is greater than his commercial metrics. That proves to you that cultural relevance does not equal to reach. He shapes how dancehall thinks, not just how it sounds. That, yeah. Here comes Mr. Sean Paul. He has global commercial success. Sean Paul achieved multiple international #1 hits, Grammy recognition, massive radio rotation, enduring crossover appeal. He converted dancehall into global pop currency. In industry terms, though, because it's business, the numbers matter. The numbers matter. And the numbers need to matter. Right? The numbers need to matter. Mainstream infrastructure wins. Sean Paul headlined international festivals, sold out, well, arenas with other people, that's fine. But still, collaborated with global pop stars, became a recognizable global brand. While Cartel was blocked from touring globally due to legal constraints, and global access amplifies measurable success. He didn't have that much global access amplifiers, sorry. Sean Paul had longevity without the controversial barriers. So, yeah, he maintained a clean, stable career, media friendliness, corporate and brand partnerships. He never disappeared from the award shows, the radio, and the television. So, guess what? Consistency in the mainstream, it equals to sustained visibility. These are facts. Consistency in the mainstream equals sustained visibility. It's true. It's true. Even if it was 200 or 400 or 600 people. He had an ambassador role for the culture of dancehall or for dancehall. He became a safe introduction to dancehall for non-Caribbean audiences. It's true. He helped to normalize that Jamaican sound, which is the pop and the fusion with the dancehall globally. For many people worldwide, because they don't know dancehall, they don't follow dancehall, they don't know anything about dancehall. He is dancehall because they don't know any better. They don't know anymore. That ambassador role carries enormous weight. Sean Paul is the most commercially successful global ambassador dancehall has produced. He is. Vibes Cartel is the most influential internal force and cultural architect dancehall has. To me, they won totally different championships. Sean Paul might have conquered the world for dancehall. Cartel conquered dancehall itself. Success depends on what you value. But as a woman that can see far, I would say dancehall needs both. A culture needs more than one champion, people. Hi, Miss Jacobs. Blessings, my queen. Blessings, blessings, beauty. How are you? Good to see you. Always good to see you. Blessings, Miss Jacobs. Miss your presence. Success depends on what you value, but dancehall needs both. Remember, I told you, think of dancehall like a tree. There's the root and the branches. Remember, I told you the diaspora, the scattered seeds, they are important. What I always tell you from my other lives, and people who are new, you can go back and listen. Whenever you're in doubt about something, look at nature too. It will teach you a lot. Now, my argument for Sean Paul is he had massive global chart success, Grammy wins, right? We talked about that. Right. Global charts, Cartel, not as much as Sean Paul. Touring, not as much as Sean Paul. Internal influence, more than Sean Paul. Genre evolution, definitely more than Sean Paul. Cultural authority, definitely more than Sean Paul. Pop accessibility, so far, not more than Sean Paul. So, We can see Sean Paul as a global ambassador, but we can see Cartel as the cultural commander. One exported dancehall, the other helps to build it. We need both. Okay? We need both. One second. So, if success means no, I'll do that after. So here's my core thesis. There are two artists with two different missions, and they have two different impacts, and they had two different influences, like I just taught you. Comparing Vibes Cartel and Sean Paul to me is flawed. Yes, it's true, there's competition in music, in all art forms, but the comparison in this is false because they had different scoreboards. They were never trying to win the same game. Different objectives create different legacies. I'm going to say that again. Different objectives create different legacies. Okay? Especially in business and art, and therefore the business of dancehall. I want you to think about it. They were trying to win different games. There were different games in the game of dancehall. The one whole game of dancehall had different games. Two different men, two different functions on the tree of dancehall. Two different functions. Different objectives create different legacies. The root is different than the branches. Same tree, different functions, different objectives. Let's fire break this down together. Internal cultural power shapes the genre itself, influence artists, language, identity, and direction. External global power expands reach, brings the genre to new audiences, creates commercial visibility. Both forms are necessary, people, but they aren't interchangeable. You can't give up one for the other. You need both. It's an ecosystem. Cartel's Lane. He built parts of the mental framework of modern dancehall. You can't go around it. He influenced lyrical style, slang, clash strategy, artist mentality. He changed how dancehall sounds, thinks, and speaks. Deep impact type, structural impact type, internal impact type, and generational impact type. Can't go around it. Sean Paul's Lane. He translated dancehall for global consumption. Even people who don't talk English think that that's what it is to dancehall. He made the genre radio friendly, festival ready, and commercially viable worldwide. He introduced millions to Jamaican music for the first time. A lot of people don't know anything about Jamaican music, but they know, give me the light. Impact type, broad, external, commercial, diplomatic. Say that again. Impact type, broad, external, commercial, diplomatic. Now, the comparison breaks down because it's not even apples and oranges. It's apples versus orchestras. Why I say that? Why you say that, Miss Julia? Cartel was not chasing Grammys at the time. And right now he's still not chasing it, but hope he gets it. He wasn't chasing the pop radio at the time. Maybe things will change. Who knows? I don't know. He wasn't chasing corporate partnerships. And guess what? Sean Paul was not focused on clash dominance. He said that he didn't like clash. I think because he just probably not good at it. He wasn't focused on internal street credibility. That's not who he was. He wasn't focused on the cultural confrontation. Comparing them assumes that one definition of success, there is one definition of success. That's what comparing them assumes. That dancehall has never followed. There is not one definition of success. Two different scoreboards. Here's the conclusion. Each dominate a separate scoreboard. Cultural influence inside dancehall, that's cartel. Global accessibility, that's Sean Paul. Artist imitation, that's cartel. International awards, so far, that's Sean Paul. Genre evolution, definitely cartel. Market expansion, so far, Sean Paul. Remember I tell you, cartel is not done. But so far, we can only talk about what happened so far. Each dominates a separate scoreboard. Now, both of them are required, and I'm going to prove to you why my thought of what I gave to you to think of dancehall as a tree, a complete ecosystem, is not flawed. There's no folly in it. Why? There is survival and expansion. Every living, breathing organism, you need expansion and survival. Without Sean Paul and artists like him, dancehall will stay regional and there'll be less global respect and investment. These are facts because he did the business of dancehall globally. However, without cartel and artists like him, dancehall loses innovation. Dancehall becomes stagnant and diluted. One keeps the culture alive. That's cartel. The other helped it travel. That was Sean Paul. Go back to my teaching on the diaspora in part 1 of the series and you'll see what I mean. But think about it like that. They're both needed. Influence versus access. Cartel has the influence without the access so far, but this is changing now. Sean Paul had the access without the internal control. Neither one cancels the other. They represent two halves of cultural success. Sean Paul exported dancehall to the world. Vibes Cartel governed dancehall from inside. Different missions, different impacts, no comparison necessary. I have some reflections for you, but now pen versus performance. This is important, right? Because I hear some people talking about who is the better writer, etc., etc. But when I listen to the arguments, I realize that there is conflation. People are mixing up. Thanks, Miss Jacobs. Thanks, sister. Thank you. You know, we women, we look at things holistically. At least the women, most women who know to think. I realize that they're conflating pen versus performance. You guys are conflating it and mixing it up. Right? Now, before we go there, talk about the success thing. If success means numbers and radio spins and awards to you, then yes, Sean Paul wins. But dancehall was never built to be measured by billboards alone. Dancehall was built in yards, on sound systems, in clashes, in culture, in our culture. And that is where Cartel reigns. Cartel doesn't just make songs. He changed the language. He shaped how artists think, talk, diss, love, dominate. The whole generations don't sound like Sean Paul. Lots of generations sounds like Cartel. And here's the part that people ignore. Cartel did that without touring, without radio support, without the award shows. While locked away, he still was able to control the conversation. Sean Paul, yes, helped to introduce dancehall to the world, but Cartel became dancehall's mind. So if success is crossing over, then yes, Sean Paul wins. But if success is owning the culture from the inside out, Cartel didn't just win, okay? He recreated the rules. These are facts, right? So people ask, who's more successful? Who's more successful? The truth is, the question misunderstands dancehall entirely, in my humble opinion. Because Sean Paul and Cartel were never chasing the same prize. As I said before, Sean Paul's impact is outward. He made it accessible to the world. He opened doors and built bridges. different types of opening doors: global stages, awards, and festivals. Radio. Cartel's impact again is inward, shaping the culture itself, the aggression, the intelligence, the language, the way that dancehall artists think and clash and create. One expands the map, the other rewrote the blueprint. And you don't compare a builder to a messenger. You don't. Dancehall didn't need one more than the other. It needs both. Because a culture must first know who it is that's represented in cartel before it can show itself to the world. And that was shown with with Sean Paul. Right? Good. Now we're gonna continue. Almost finished. Don't worry. Now, I want you guys to stop confusing writing with performance. Because not every great performer is a great writer. Okay? And not every great writer is meant to be a pop translator. Okay? Now, let's get into it. Let me know if you guys can still hear me. We're almost done. Let me know, you have to type and tell me if you can still hear me. You can still hear me? Somebody type, please. I see you guys watching. Type, yes, I can still hear you. Or you guys probably just listening away from your devices and can't type. Hello? Type, type, type. Yes, you can type, Miss Jacobs. Thank you, darling. All right, so now pen versus performance. Listen, these are facts. Cartel is a superior writer because his work demonstrates greater linguistic range. His work represents narrative density and conceptual risks. These are things that writers know about. Sean Paul's strength lies in delivery, accessibility, and performance translation. Let me be clear here. This is a writing argument, Fire Nation, not a fame argument. Right? If we're going to talk about writing, there is something that cannot be ignored in this argument, and that's called the complexity of language. Okay? If we're going to talk about who is the better writer, high success over high, blessings, 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 queen. We're going to talk about the better writer. We have to talk about the complexity of language because you must be basing it on something. Now, Cartel writes with dense patois, double entendres, irony, satire, metaphor, cultural, political, and social subtext. His lyrics often reward close listening and repeat analysis. This is facts. Okay? Sean Paul's writing now prioritizes clarity. He uses simpler, universal phrasing. It's engineered for immediate comprehension across the cultures. Why? Because it's a global product. That's why the crossover is so great. Immediate comprehension across cultures. So it's less complex. These are facts. That's why hook lines work. They're simple. People can remember them easy. Right? Even if they don't know what they're saying. But complexity is a writing skill. And it is a writing skill that also depends on clarity to be understood. So even though it's complex, you can still listen to it and say, oh, that's what it means. Yeah, it's still clear that it could mean two things. Okay, and Cartel has that. Cartel regular writes characters, internal monologues, moral contradictions, social commentary embedded in storytelling. It's facts. This is what he does. His songs often function like short stories, social critiques, psychological portraits. But guess what? You listen to Sean Paul, he writes for motion, mood, and rhythm. You listen to Sean Paul, you want to dance. His lyrics support the groove, not layered narrative arcs. In other words, his lyrics are not layered like with all of those internal monologues and double entendres and all of that stuff. Right? Cartel builds the world in verses and Sean Paul builds vibes. That doesn't mean that Cartel doesn't build vibes to it. Doesn't mean that. But we're talking about the pen here. We're not talking about performance. Do not mix it up. Right? Sean Paul build vibes. Now, as a writer myself, I know that there's such a thing called risk taking in writing. You can't go around Cartel for this. Cartel takes lyrical risks. He always has controversial angles, sometimes uncomfortable honesty, intellectual play inside street language. He does. He challenges the listener. Sometimes you have to listen again. Sean Paul's writing is intentionally safe, people, for global radio. That's why it's intentionally safe for global. I'm talking to you about the business here of dancehall and global radio. It's intentionally safe for global radio. Sean Paul's writing avoids ambiguity that could block mass appeal. Ambiguity can sometimes block mass appeal because I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Right? Writers who take more risks show more craft dexterity, even if it's polarizing. Look up craft dexterity. These are facts. Cartel takes more lyrical risks. Now, another sign of the better writer is influence on how others write. Many younger dancehall artists, they borrow Cartel's phrasing patterns. They mimic his cadence. They want to sound like him. Right? They echo his metaphor choices. Few artists try to write like Sean Paul. Many artists try to write cleverly, even in clashes, because of Cartel's success in writing. That is influence. Influence on writing style is one of the strongest indicators of writing superiority. Remember, I told you this before. When your peers start copying you, that is a different level of influence. Not just the audience. When the other craftsmen, the other artists start to follow you as a blueprint, that's a different level of influence. Now, when it comes to going commercial and collaborating, artists are following for reach. Artists are following in Sean Paul's footprint there. Good. Volume and consistency. Carter's output is enormous. Love songs, clashes, social comedy, humor, spirituality, but he maintains lyrical sharpness across that volume. What does that indicate? Elite writing muscle. He can write anything. He can write anything. And it's deep. The love songs, the spiritual and reflective themes. God is the greatest. That's a spiritual reflective theme, right? The humor. You always have some kind of humor. Sean Paul's catalog is more tightly curated for hits. You cannot go around it. His catalog is more tightly curated for hits. There is a mold for it to be radio friendly. Effective, but narrower in scope. It was intentional for commercial ability. Now, are you seeing the business behind this thing? Right? It's important. Function of the lyrics. Cartel lyrics can stand on the page by itself. So in other words, if you read Cartel's lyrics, it will still make you think and make you look over it. They can be debated, they can be quoted, they can be analyzed without the music. Sean Paul's lyrics, they're meant to be heard in motion. By itself on the page, it does nothing, right? With the beat, it does something. It's supposed to be experienced through the performance. When lyrics survive without the rhythm, that is writing power. I'm telling you this as someone who writes. When lyrics survives without the rhythm, that's writing power. Let me be clear here with you guys. I'm going to be very clear, crystal fire clear here. I did not say, and I did not teach you that Cartel is bigger globally or Sean Paul is less talented. I never said that. What I said and what I taught you is writing does not equal performance, and lyrical architecture does not equate to accessibility. And on writing alone, Cartel has the deeper pen. Too bad. If you don't like it, you take it up with the giver of lyrical talents. Okay? Yeah. Literary compression, multiple ideas inside few words. We're almost done. Right? Sean Paul's writing serves the beat, it maximizes memorability, it prioritizes flow over complexity, which is great for crossover radio love. I told you that, right? Cartel writing, it builds a psychological scene. It invites interpretation. It rewards re-listening. It can be analyzed without the music behind it. That is called literary compression. Multiple ideas inside few words. Look it up. I'm not making this up. I'm telling you from what I learned. This is called literary compression. Multiple ideas inside few words. Now, does he know that he's doing it? Maybe not. Maybe the man just talented. Okay. Maybe he learned how to use his talent properly. But that is what it is. So here's the breakdown side by side. Writing element, language density, Cartel high, Sean Paul moderate. Double meaning, Cartel frequently, Sean Paul minimal. Writing element, narrative layering, Cartel yes, definitely. Sean Paul rare. Works without music, Cartel yes. The writing, I'm talking about the writing. I'm not talking about the performance. Talking about the words on the page, what they mean when you sit down and read it and think about it. Works without music, Cartel, yes. Sean Paul, less so. Design for interpretation, yes, Cartel. Design mostly and only for movement, yes, Sean Paul. That doesn't mean that Cartel's own is not for movement too. Main goal, Cartel is impact on thought. Sean Paul, impact on feeling, can make you want to move. But Cartel get feeling too. Sean Paul writes for the ear and the body. Cartel writes for the mind and then the ear. These are facts. I'm going to say it again. Sean Paul writes for the ear and the body. Cartel writes for the mind and then the ear. Think about it. Think about it. That distinction is why Cartel's lyrics get debated. And that's why Sean Paul's lyrics really only get danced to. Both are skills, but one is primarily writing craft. We're talking about writing craft here. Let's not get confused here. We're talking about the writing craft, the facts of the matter. We're not talking about the performance, dancing, blah, 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 Austin and comfort. We're talking about the writing craft. Important for your understanding. This is not about better songs. I never mentioned anything about better songs. This is about how the writing itself functions on the page. That's what it's about. Now, again, not every great performer is a great writer. Not every great writer is meant to be a pop translator. Sean Paul writes to move the crowds. His words are clear, catchy, and built to travel fast across different cultures and to be palatable to people who don't have the ear for dancehall. Cartel writes to shape thought. His lyrics are layered, ironic, sometimes uncomfortable, because they're doing more than just writing a beat. One writes so the world can dance, the other writes so the culture can think. And that is why you don't judge a pen by radio spins. I'm going to say that again. This is why you don't judge a pen by radio spins. You judge it by influence. You judge it by imitation. And you judge it by the longevity of the language. Performance moves the movement, yes, but writing moves the future. And ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to the pen, Cartel's ink, it runs deeper. Now we're going to tie in the diaspora. See, almost done. Just a couple more slides. A couple more slides. You're almost done. Almost done. Now, here's my question to you, Fire Nation. I want you to think for yourself regarding this. Which role is more important in Jamaican dancehall to the genre surviving? Is it the architect or the ambassador? Who shapes the culture and who expands it? Now, does expansion, like the diaspora, without innovation eventually dilute a genre? A lot of people think that. Does innovation without expansion trap a genre locally? Lots of people think that too. Lots of people think that too. Friend at the radio station thinks that, you know, the innovation without expansion, it traps it locally. And he would think that as a radio station disc jockey. But there are a lot of purists who think, listen, you keep exporting this thing, expansion, and it's the same thing. They dilute our thing. And that's probably true because we do need innovation in everything. Every art form needs innovation. And business as well. So, remember, diaspora means scattered seeds. Remember, a diaspora carries culture away from the homeland, plants it in new soil, and changes how it grows. How does this apply to dancehall, Miss Julia? Homeland role Jamaica produces innovation. It sets the cultural codes, determines the authenticity. That's what Jamaica does. That's what the homeland does. The diaspora role, people who are away and abroad from home, expands the reach, creates new audiences, changes the incentives too, to radio, festivals, and charts. Vibes Cartel, therefore, and Sean Paul represents two diaspora functions. They're both needed. Vibes Cartel represents cultural seed, integrity, home, the inner. He strengthens the source, keeps the language sharp, prevents the cultural erosion, can't be diluted. Sean Paul represents diaspora growth. He spread the seeds, made it visible, and helped it to survive globally. At least the name dancehall. These are facts. That's what he did. Not saying that Vibes Cartel is finished. I think he's just starting back. Here's some critical fire insight for you, Fire Nation. Diaspora success without homeland innovation leads to dilution. It does. I can see how it does. But homeland innovation without the diaspora reach, it can lead to stagnation. So cultures need both. We need to stop demonizing one for the other. And that's what I'm seeing a lot going on when I hear people downplay Sean Paul's, and when I hear people downplay Vibes Cartel. That's why I started out with the label hype and prison hype thing, right? Because we needed to get that straight first. Our culture needed both. Both are good for the culture. It's one ecosystem. They have two different functions in business as well as culturally. Two completely different functions. Two different scoreboards. Sean Paul expanded dancehall through the diaspora. Cartel deepened dancehall at the source. One artist protects the roots, the other spreads the branches. So far, that's not competition. That is a cultural ecosystem. Okay, that's a cultural ecosystem. Right? So, I want you guys to remember that. I want you guys to always remember that. A cultural ecosystem. So, next week, we go back to our business language class. And we had some problems with it before because the first time I did it, the first part, the sound wasn't good. So, I said, let me do it over. So, I hit that one. I did it over. And then there was no sound. I didn't check with you guys to see if you guys could hear me. But it got a lot of views and shared. So, there's something to the silent live. That I found that odd. But I hit that anyway because I didn't like the fact I didn't have any sound. And so next week Sunday, I'm going to do the complete part 1 and part 2 together. It won't be too long, right? So you can get the full business language class because I don't want you to miss out on it, and it's very important, right? So bless you guys. Good luck to Vibes Cartel today with the Grammy. And thanks for tuning in. Like up the live before you go. And please share it with your friends. And bless up.
Because it's iconic. And I love to do iconic shit.